All over.
All right. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience. We really appreciate it. Thanks again for coming out. We appreciate you being here tonight. We appreciate the candidates for coming. We appreciate the Livingston Parish News for helping out with everything. And we'll just jump right into everything. So, Ms. Kellie Alford, if you want to come up, we're going to do 5-minute introductions, and then McHugh's going to take it away with questions. Anybody watching live on Facebook, if you have anything to add, feel free to comment. Folks in the audience, if you guys have any questions, feel free to come write them down, and we can pass them to McHugh as well. And thank you so much, Kellie.
All right, short people. Well, thank y'all so much for having me, and thank you to Cavalier House and Livingston Parish News for hosting this event, allowing us to introduce ourselves. Some of y'all know me, some of y'all do not. I'm Kellie Alford. I'm running for State Representative District 64. I'm a mom, and I have been married to my husband, Scott Alford, for over 25 years. We have 3 adult children, all who we are very proud of. I have 2 grandbabies that keep me young. And I'm a small business owner. My husband and I have run our landscape company here for over 15 years. We've grown it from the ground up. We haven't really had to market it very much. We've been very blessed by that. It's been a lot of word of mouth and just building relationships with people and then sharing it from there. People ask me all the time, why am I stepping into this race? Why am I running? Well, a couple things. Most importantly, I'm going to start with the most important thing. I feel like I've been called to do this. It is a decision that I did not take lightly, one that my husband and I prayed about. We talked to our adult children because obviously it affects them, and our church, and got a peace in my heart that this is what I needed to do. Aside from that, I like to say there's a separation between, the spirit and the human. My human side, I was very concerned with the direction that our state was going. COVID-19 and the pandemic and the shutdown was a huge thrust towards wanting to step in and serve in some capacity. I worked with a lot of mama bears, and we, fought our governor and his mandate. When the governor said, go home, we told our employees to come to work. We put on a town hall encouraging our elected officials to come out and to speak to the constituents, because people were, at that point, it had been going on for a while, and they were tired, they were confused, and they were frustrated. I was an advocate for those kind of things, because I feel it's very important that if we don't listen to the voice of our constituents and we tune them out, or I like to say mute them, me being one of them at the time, then we have a big problem. And I think people have lost focus and perspective. So another big one for me was my only child to go to college was a COVID graduate. So I never got to see her walk across the stage at LSU, which was very hard for me. So those are some things that have motivated me. Of course, having grandchildren, the generations past, we got to build a better, state. I want them to stay here and not leave to go to other states that can offer opportunity to them and, build their careers. I want them to build them here and grow their families here. So we can do it. It's just going to take a lot of work. So that's a little bit about me.
And thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you taking a second to introduce yourself. We're going to have a few sort of basic follow-up questions to what you just told us, and then we'll get into some deeper level questions in a minute.
Okay.
The first question is, you brought it up early in your introduction. You are a small business owner. You own a business with your husband. Tell us a little bit about how that specifically affected your decision to run for the House.
Well, as a small business owner, I know what it's like to sign the front of a check and not just the back of a check. We have felt the stress and the pressures of rising insurance costs, skyrocketing insurance costs, whether it be, of course, we went from residential to operating commercial, so commercial insurance is just out of this world, and it goes up. So understanding that, understand how to make hard decisions, having to deal with day-to-day, scheduling challenges, employee challenges, those kind of things. In the beginning, I was a stay-at-home mom. We made that decision. When we started our company in '08, Scott did the operations and I did the bookkeeping and all the office side of things. But of course, I was still a mom at that time. My kids were still at home. So I would do it in the evening when they were going to bed. As they got older, I went to work full time. I had to create policy procedure. I had to create employee handbooks. I had to deal with HR issues. As a business owner, we deal with those kind of things, and you feel it as far as, workforce. Workforce is another challenge that we have. We have to build our workforce. We have to encourage people to want to go to work. And that was the other side of things that we felt after the whole COVID-19 pandemic was people didn't want to go to work anymore. They wanted to stay home. So those are some of the things that we felt as a business.
Thank you for that. When it was interesting when you were going through some of the things you've had to do with your business, it also sounded kind of like being a mom. How has being a mom prepared you for business, and how do you believe it's prepared you for running for the house?
Wow. Well, when you have strong-willed children that test you or challenge you, you just can't give up. You can't back down, and you can't, walk away. You got to get in there, and you got to love, and you got to guide and encourage and build. I feel like as a mom that has been a huge character building, from me. It built my character. Patience is another thing. You got to have patience. And I feel like that goes along with this journey, with, running for this seat, and even moving forward, if operating and walking in the seat. You have to have those qualities. Of course, I loved raising my kids, and I'm very thankful. We made sacrifices in order for me to stay at home, but it was worth everything to do that. But stepping into business, full time was also exciting for me because, I was a young mom, so I didn't get to go to college. I raised my child. And so going into that world was a challenge that I was super excited about and embraced it. And of course, even with our employees, we have a family atmosphere because we're a family business. And so our employees know that, we treat them like family. And they know that and they feel that. And I think it's why we've actually grown or retained, and they've never left because of that family mindedness.
So one of the last questions we're going to ask about sort of your personal life, you discussed several things about faith. Would you please comment on how your faith has guided you towards this and what you draw from that?
Yeah. Oh, I draw everything from that. My husband and I planted a church. He's actually ordained, and we planted a church in Eastover Estates, and we lived there for 4 years on the church property. We bought what was the clubhouse at the time, or when they first established, and it's a no-brainer for me to make a sacrifice for my Lord and Savior, because let's just be honest, stepping into I like to say public service instead of politics. But any type of service where you have to lay your life down, where you have to give up something, it has to come from the heart. Because if it doesn't, then you're not doing it for the right reasons. And so my faith is everything to me. It's if you would have known me, even 6 years ago, I'm a completely different person. And it's because of my faith. It's because of what I've walked through with the Lord and what he's done inside of me and through me. And what I feel like I can carry into serving the constituents of District 64 at the Capitol. So.
I got to turn my microphone up every time. So moving out of, I guess you can say moving out of your personal life, moving more into your desire to run for House 64, one of the things you brought up was being a business owner. You've discussed that. You discussed several individual things about that were important to you. First was insurance. So talk to us a little bit about you running for the House and what you would like to do with the insurance situation in Louisiana.
Well, I don't know if y'all remember, maybe Mary, a couple things in regards to insurance and fiscal responsibility. They had a special session during the summertime dealing with insurance, homeowner insurance and trying to bring incentives for companies to come back to Louisiana or to stay in Louisiana and to provide homeowner insurance for the people. And I went to that committee hearing and listened, and there was a couple things that really made me question, I was perplexed. First off, 2016 flood was very real for people. They lost everything. And then to potentially lose your coverage because insurance companies don't want to cover us because we live on the coast and natural disasters are, unpredictable. That's unfortunate. And so we have to make sure that I think we need to open the lines of competition, in my opinion. But sitting in that committee hearing, he was talking about a program they did before, and I don't remember what it was. But basically, what stood out to me was he made the statement, the commissioner did, that he had saved money that was given to him for the first program, and the money that he saved he put into the general fund. And then here he's back asking for I think it was $40 million or something. And in my mind, as a business owner, how we do things, of course, we have to live by a budget. If we don't have it, we don't spend it. Is, where you have allocated money that's only can be spent on that particular project that was funded. You save money, you put it in general fund that can go to anything, paper, pencils, whatever. That's not good responsibility, in my opinion, because here you're asking for me. I put that money aside, and when I need another project, whatever, I would subtract the money I need for that other project because the money was there and it was already allocated for pretty much the same thing. So those are things that made me. So.
As a
Thank you.
As a
So
business
cute.
owner, you have interactions with the state, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
From your perspective, you've already discussed insurance. What are some other things that you feel like you could help business owners in dealing with the state? What are some other ideas that you might have?
Well, I think the number one thing in a lot of people's minds is tax reform. We have to have tax reform. Payroll taxes are outrageous. On top of everything else, income tax. And I feel like if we can open the conversation, because another conversation I had during the summertime, it was a representative, and he had mentioned how he was on a subcommittee, and they were discussing, some reform in our taxes to bring some relief, because we all want more money in our paycheck, right? We work hard for that, and then you look at it. I remember my youngest son, when he got his first paycheck, in the stub, he was like, "Mom, it's hard for adults, much less, young people who are, starting to work." So, but the conversation with him was, it's so complicated that they dropped the conversation, because if they work on this, then this department or this program is going to have to be cut. So we're just not going to touch it right now, just right now. I have a problem with that because you keep adding to the problem. So no, we need to step back and we're going to need to look at this. And I understand it's going to be tough, some adjustments and some moving around, but it can be done. And I feel like that's a number one thing on people's hearts and minds is, our taxes are complicated. I mean, you're losing business to other states because of it. And again, we're last in the nation. And we got to change it. We got to change it. So
You brought up something during that discussion, which is, you talk to current legislators, you say, shouldn't we be spending this money here? And as they will tell you, you cut, or you want here, you have to cut there. One of the conversations that has been going on for a little over a decade now is the way the budget is handled here and how things are constitutionally required. To change them would require a constitutional convention to open up the budget, I guess you could say. Are you for or against something like that, and how would you like to participate?
So I think you're talking about the state constitutional convention, right? Okay, I think it's a great idea, but I think the devil are in the details. And so some questions that I would have would be, who would the delegates be? And are they going to be business-minded people? How are they voted in? Those are some questions that I would have because, in opening that up, if you don't have all those things answered, then it could potentially turn into a bad thing. But I'm definitely open, and I think it's a good idea. One thing that I also found out, and I thought was shockingly interesting, was our Constitution has been changed over 200 times, and that's just unheard of. So, I think it would be a good idea, but those questions would need to be answered first.
So you talked about having things done preemptively to try to make sure that went appropriately in terms of constitutional convention. When you go to the House, a lot of times people like to call it the animal house. It's a lot of people. There's a lot of moving parts. What about your past history, being a business owner, being a mother, would help you navigate what is a lot of times a very crazy and hectic environment?
Well, I've been there some. When I made my decision to run, I actually made my decision to run last year. So I went to the Capitol a few times to sit and watch and listen. I'm a relational person. I build relationships, and I don't hold grudges. I don't get easily offended, and I attribute that really to my faith and how certain things in my life, certain situations and situations or circumstances have taught me that I've walked through. So I feel like having that basis of building foundations, because like I said, building relationships, our business, that's how we built our business, is on relationships. And so I really feel like that will benefit me in the House because I can get along with anybody, even if I don't agree with you, and find ways to, I guess I kind of sort of have the gift of persuasion, to where you can, still be true to who you are, but at the same time want to make a difference and want to do the right thing.
So you talk about being a relational person, maybe able to pull some people to your view. So you have campaigned in your district, which is roughly the Watson area. You know your district. One of the things that you will be doing is going after money. So when you're thinking about the first bill you'd like to put forth and appropriation, going after some money, it's two separate questions. You can start with either. But what kind of money would you be going after for any kind of project, drainage, roads, some sort of infrastructure, and what would be the first bill that you would put up?
Well, talking to the constituents, door knocking, they're what they say, because obviously I want to hear from them, because that's the whole point. And a lot of what they say is obviously drainage and our infrastructure. So I would love to see the money to make 16 four lanes at least past the high school, because that's a mess right there. And of course, drainage. Our roads are bad, and I know that there's funding there, but we need accountability and transparency. So if it needs to be encouraged, and I also look at projects and the time it takes to do certain projects, that can cause it to get more expensive. Just some accountability and some encouragement there to see these things actually done in a timely manner. Of course, our ditches. A lot of people are frustrated with that. They're tired of their yards having water in it. They're scared when we have a gully washer and rain, and it starts coming up close to their house. And so it's going to definitely be in line with the drainage and continuing that project and whatever other direction that we need to take in order to secure the people of District 64 in their minds that their investment is protected. And then, of course, like I said, our roads. We need to 4-lane, if not to the parish line, at least past the high school.
So you already kind of stole my thunder on the next question, at least with regard to one thing, and you talked about what would be the DOTD process on roads. You talked about processes. That would be the next question. So maybe we can find something else. But what process in terms of being a legislator, submitting a bill, or getting some appropriations, and then there's the things that happen after. Is there one thing that you believe, you've already talked about roads and the road process, is there another process that you've seen that you think could be better?
Are you talking about legislatively? Okay. So I'm a firm believer you are the company you keep. I will say that surrounding yourself with good people that have good intentions and ideas, on top of aligning with what the constituents want, that's to me key and vital, and I will welcome that. I know, like, the process at the Capitol as far as the legislation, I actually learned that they have a group of lawyers. I didn't actually know that. So I'm learning, having never run for office before. I'm getting myself around people who can speak into that. But at the same time, one thing I would like to see change is the manipulation, in my opinion, when it comes to pushing bills forward. Waiting to the last minute to put your bill out there. I would like to see those kind of things change. I feel like with a good leader, as a governor, and the supermajority in the House and the Senate, and new people that maybe are more freedom-minded, you can have that. To where we can actually get some things done, and there's no votes that are made on bills that people don't really understand what's in them. So,
kind of coming back locally, the school system is one of the, if not the main economic engine of this parish. Roughly 4,000 employees, almost 30,000 students. As a state representative, what would be your plan to try to assist the schools in continuing to educate kids? We just got results that roughly 6 of the high schools were in the top 100 public schools in the state. So they're doing a good job. But what, from your perspective, what would be a good way to work with the schools, partner with the schools, that kind of thing, to continue educating the kids of Livingston Parish?
Well, we've always had good schools out here. We've been so blessed, and I personally want to see that continue to be. I think we had a little hit to the stomach, so to speak, with teachers leaving our parish due to their pay or benefits, whatever. So I personally would support our educators and the support staff in any capacity that would encourage them to want to stay and not leave our parish. I am for them getting a fair raise. And like I said, even the support staff, because they do a lot as well. You know, we are, like I said, just so blessed to live in Livingston Parish when it comes to our education. Man, I had, you know, like when you lose your thought, it just goes out the door. But one thing I do want to see, as far as our government is concerned, when it comes to education, I feel like would support our education, is removing the governmental reach, the regulations or the involvement into the education. It's become too complicated. I had a conversation earlier with someone, a friend, a family member of mine, looking for a tutor to help tutor their fifth grader in math. And my question was, is it that complicated math that they just introduced? Yes. I don't understand the logic behind that. When you have parents who grew up reading, writing, and arithmetic, the basics, you know, addition, multiplication, fractions, and then they change things on them to teach these kids, thinking it's going to be a better way, making them smarter. And the support that they have at home through the parents is cut off, because the parents don't understand what or how to teach the child to do the homework. So we need to look at those kind of things, and we need to kind of step back when it comes to some governmental overreach in our education.
Okay, you've got about 5 minutes left. I have one more question. If anybody out there would like to ask another, I think John can facilitate that. We have some forms in the back. Yeah, go ahead. You've been up there for 25 minutes. Congratulations. So the last question I have to ask you is this. Every Senate and House seat in Livingston Parish is going to have someone new in it. How much do you know about some of the other candidates and some of the other races, and what would you like to do going forward, should you be elected, to work with those people as a delegation moving forward?
You know, I've met most of them that are running, and I think we have a great opportunity. I would like to say first that I really hope voters do their homework and look into every candidate running, myself included. We have to be engaged, and I pray that voters can be engaged, because we have a great opportunity to change the direction that our state is going in, and I want to be a part of that, obviously. And working with my colleagues is going to be an added bonus, in my opinion, because whether it be somebody that I know that is an incumbent, or if it's somebody new, I feel like if we have the right mindset and our heart and intention is to be a public servant and to go in with what the constituents are saying, what the people in your district are saying, then we can be a success and we can actually do some good things for our state.
Okay. If you have any closing statements, now's the time to make them. John's telling me nobody stood up to come ask another question, so go ahead and make your closing statements, and then I'm going to ask you, for the folks on Facebook Live and the folks here, if they have follow-up questions or anything, how they can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, Kellie Alford, I'm running for State Representative, District 64. I believe we can do better. I know we can do better. I want my grandkids to grow up here, and I want your grandkids to grow up here. And I'm just humbled by this experience and all the people that I've met. This opportunity to do these kind of things has been such, I want to say, good challenge, because I love challenges. And I'm looking forward to October 14th, which is the primary. And I humbly ask for your vote and support. And if you want to talk to me, I welcome it. my number, not my number. Actually, I'll give you my number because truthfully, I say that because, you know, with us, the customer always comes first. And just like the customer comes first, the constituents will come first. My phone number is out there all over because of our business. So please reach out to me. 241-5950, because I want to have that engagement. I want people to call me and talk to me. I had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday, and he was a Democrat, and I just love that engagement. I love that conversation because we have to have that in order to grow and to move and to be. I have a website, www.votekelliealford.com, and that's Kellie, Alford.com. And then I have Instagram, which is votealford64. So again, I welcome any engagement. Thank y'all for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you coming up here and going on the live. So we're going to take a short 2-minute break as the next candidate, which will be Mr. Gary Frog Talbert, is going to come up and speak. We're going to give everybody a chance here to grab another cup of coffee or water and go to the restroom.